All right, welcome. Today, we are diving into something that's a real headache for anyone running their own services at home, and that is securely exposing them to the internet. We're going to be looking at a tool called Nginx Proxy Manager, which is designed to solve this exact problem. Seriously, if you've ever found yourself wrestling with router settings and security certificates, you are definitely going to want to see this. So picture this. You've got a media server, maybe a home automation dashboard, a personal blog, all that good stuff running on a server tucked away in your closet. That's awesome. But now you want to access them securely from anywhere in the world. Well, this usually means diving into a nightmare of router configurations, port forwarding, and that never-ending cycle of setting up and renewing SSL certificates for every single service. It just gets so complicated so fast. But what if managing all of that could be boiled down to a simple, graphical web interface? What if getting a secure, encrypted connection for your brand new project was just a matter of filling out a few fields in a form and clicking Save? Well, that is the incredible promise of Nginx Proxy Manager. Okay, let's get right into the solution. It's a tool called Nginx Proxy Manager, or NPM for short. And I want you to think of it as the single, friendly front door for your entire home network. It acts as what we call a reverse proxy. Now this right here, this is the mission statement, and it's pulled directly from the project's own documentation. The whole goal is to give you the raw power of a reverse proxy, which, directs all that incoming traffic to the right internal service, and free SSL encryption from Let's Encrypt, all without forcing you to become an expert in the super complex configuration files that usually come along for the ride. The absolute best way to think about it is like this. Nginx Proxy Manager is basically the digital receptionist for your network. When a request comes in from the internet asking for, say, media.yourdomain.com, the receptionist knows exactly which internal server is running your media app and securely connects them. It does this for every single service, all from one central, easy-to-manage. And there is a ton of power packed into this simple tool. You get a beautiful, clean web interface instead of a scary command line. It completely automates getting and renewing free SSL certificates, which, let me tell you, is a massive time saver. You can easily set up all your domains, create access lists for security, and get this, for you power users out there, you can still access advanced Nginx configurations if you really need to. So, okay, it sounds powerful, but is it easy to set up? Well, the project's core philosophy is all about simplicity, and that totally extends to the installation process. We're talking about getting up and running in just a few minutes. And this just illustrates that simplicity perfectly. I mean, if you already have Docker and Docker Compose installed, it's literally just 3 steps. You create one little configuration file, and the project gives you one you can just copy and paste, and then you run a single command. That's it. The entire application is now running in a container, completely self-contained and ready to go. And listen, this isn't just some marketing line. This is the official project goal. The creator wanted to build something so ridiculously straightforward that the barrier to entry would be incredibly low. This quote just perfectly captures the spirit of the project. Powerful capabilities made accessible to everyone, no matter their technical expertise. So once you run that command, how do you even manage it? It's simple. You just open your web browser and go to your server's IP address on port 81. And boom, this is where you'll find the web admin interface. From here, you can start setting up all your services through a clean, graphical dashboard with 0 config files to edit. But hey, don't let all this simplicity fool you. Nginx Proxy Manager is built to scale with your needs. While the default setup is perfect for most of us, it has plenty of room to grow into some much more advanced power user configurations. Right out of the box, your configuration is stored in a simple file-based SQLite database. This is perfect for getting started since it requires 0 setup. But what if you're running a larger, maybe multi-user setup, and you need something a little more robust? Well, NPM has you covered there too. This table just shows the tool's flexibility. By making just a few little changes to your Docker Compose file, you can switch from that default SQLite to a full-fledged MariaDB, MySQL, or even a Postgres database. This is absolutely ideal for larger deployments or for anyone who needs the performance and features of a more powerful database backend. Oh, and here's a huge plus, especially for the hobbyist community. The official Docker image has multi-architecture support. Now, what that means is it runs perfectly on ARM devices like the Raspberry Pi, without any special configuration at all. You can literally turn that tiny, low-power computer into a powerful and secure gateway for your entire network. How cool is that? So what's the big picture here?
Well, Nginx Proxy Manager, it takes some of the most complex, frustrating parts of self-hosting. We're talking reverse proxying and SSL management, and it makes them incredibly simple. It truly unleashes the full potential of your home network.
So let's recap the key takeaways, right? First, Nginx Proxy Manager acts as your single, secure gateway for everything. Second, it makes getting that little padlock icon on all your sites completely effortless with automated SSL. It's really just a fantastic example of taking a super complex task and making it accessible to everyone. It's an empowering tool that lets you focus on building cool projects, not on configuring network infrastructure. All right, welcome everyone. So you've got Nginx Proxy Manager up and running. That's awesome. You're routing traffic, you've got your SSL certificates humming along, but that's just the beginning. Today, we're going to go way beyond the basics. We're going to take that setup and turn it into an absolute digital fortress. Okay, let's get into it. Right now, your setup might feel a little bit like this. A simple Minecraft dirt hut. I mean, it works, right? It keeps the rain out, gets the job done. But let's be honest, functional is not the same as secure. A dirt hut isn't going to save you from a creeper, and a default proxy setup, well, it's not going to protect you from the real threats out there on the internet. And that really is the big question for today, isn't it? Your proxy is running, yeah, but is it a fortress? Is it actually designed to protect your most important services and data? If you're hesitating even a little bit, don't worry, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to build that fortress, block by block. Every great fortress has to have a solid foundation. And for us, in the world of Docker, that means isolating our services from the big, scary outside world. The absolute best way to do that is with dedicated Docker networks. This is going to be our first major upgrade. Okay, so check this out, because this is a really fundamental shift in how you should think about security. On the left, you've got exposed ports. That's basically like leaving all the doors and windows of your house wide open. Anyone on your local network can just waltz right up and try to get in. But on the right, with a Docker network, that's like building a giant wall around your entire property. All your services are safe inside, talking to each other privately, and there's only one single guarded gate, Nginx Proxy Manager. So how do you build this private walled compound? You're going to love this. It is ridiculously simple. Step 1, you create the network with one command. We're calling it Scooby-Doo here. Just for fun, you can name it whatever you want. Then, step 2, you just tell your services to use this new network right inside their Docker Compose YAML file. You know, that's the blueprint that tells Docker how to run everything. That's literally it. Let's look at a real example here. So let's say you're running Portainer on port 9000. Now, normally, you'd have to expose that port. But with our private network, you don't. See this snippet? We just attach the Portainer's service to our network. Now, inside Nginx Proxy Manager, you can create a proxy host and just point it to the host name Portainer on port 9000. It just works because Docker handles all the networking behind the scenes. And the best part, that port is now completely invisible to the outside world. Okay, our foundation is secure, the walls are up. Now it's time to post a guard at the gate. A guard that never sleeps, never takes a break. We need a way to automatically make sure our proxy is always up and running correctly. And for that, we have the Docker Health Check. Think of it as an automated defense system for our fortress. So what exactly is a health check? It's really just a simple command that Docker runs inside your container over and over again. It's like tapping it on the shoulder and asking, hey, you still good? Everything working in there? If it gets a good response, Docker marks the container as healthy. If not, it's unhealthy. It really is like an automated guard for your fortress, and it's absolutely crucial for reliability. And getting it set up is so easy. You just add this little health check block to your Nginx Proxy Manager service in your Docker Compose.yaml. The test command there is a little script that checks if things are running. The interval tells Docker, hey, run this check every 10 seconds. And the timeout says, if you don't hear back in 3 seconds, something's probably wrong. It's so simple, but wow, is it effective. All right, we have a strong foundation. We have an automated guard. Now let's talk about the crown jewels, your passwords, your API keys, all that sensitive data. Just leaving those secrets in plain text inside your configuration files is a massive, massive security risk. And this is what that risk looks like. That password is just sitting there in plain text. If you ever share this file, or heaven forbid, check it into a public code repository, your password is just out there for the world to see. It is literally a creeper sneaking up right behind you about to ruin your day. We have got to fix this. The solution here is something called Docker Secrets. Now, for all my Minecraft fans out there, think of it like an ender chest for your credentials. You put your valuable stuff, your passwords, in a secure, magical chest that's separate from your main build. Your services can then access that password only when they need it. This gets your sensitive data completely out of your configuration file. So let's make this super clear. Here's the before state. We have our database password just sitting there as a plain old string in our environment variables. This is exactly what we want to get away from. And here is the after. This is where the magic happens. Look, the original password line is totally gone. It's been replaced by DB MySQL password file. That __ file suffix at the end is a special instruction. It tells Nginx Proxy Manager, hey, don't look for a password here. Instead, go read the password from this secure file. Just like that, your password is no longer in your config file. It is so much more secure. Okay, you have secured the perimeter, you've automated the guards, and you've locked away your secrets. Now it is time to become the master architect of your fortress. We're about to dive into the really powerful stuff. Direct customization of the Nginx configuration itself. I want you to think of these files as your architectural blueprints. Each one lets you inject your own custom Nginx code into a very specific part of the configuration. You want to add something to the main HTTP block for everything? Use http-top.conf. You need to add a special rule to every single one of your proxy hosts? Yep, there's a file for that too. This gives you incredible control. So let's come up with a practical goal. Security scanners are always telling you to add headers like X-frame options to prevent attacks. Now, we could go into the web UI and add this header to every single proxy host, one by one. But that is so tedious and you're bound to miss one. We want to apply this rule globally to every site we host all at once, automatically. So, looking at our list of blueprints, which one do you think is the right tool for this job? We need a file that gets included in the configuration for every single proxy host, but not for, say, redirect hosts or the 404 page. Take a sec. Which one would it be? And the answer is serverproxy.conf. It is the perfect tool for this job because, just like the name says, it's included at the end of every single proxy server block. By adding one line to this one file, you can instantly upgrade the security of every single site your manager is proxying. That is the power of using the right blueprint. Our fortress is strong, it's secure, and it's smartly designed. But a true master architect is always looking for ways to optimize and tune their creation. And luckily, Nginx Proxy Manager gives us some powerful tweaks through simple environment variables that can solve common problems. Let's just run through a few of these real quick. Getting weird errors about IPv6 on your network? Just set disable IPv6 to true. Is your container taking a long time to start up? You can try setting IP ranges fetch enabled to false. And hey, you can even set that X-frame options header we talked about globally with its own variable. These are just quick, powerful fixes you should know about. No fortress can stand forever without a little maintenance. And it's the exact same for software. Thankfully, keeping your Nginx Proxy Manager fortress up to date with the latest security patches and features is incredibly easy. Seriously, forget about complicated update procedures. It's just 2 commands. First, you run docker compose pull. That goes out and fetches the latest version, the newest blueprints for Nginx Proxy Manager. Then you run docker compose upd. This gracefully stops your old container and rebuilds it with the new version, all while keeping your data safe. It's simple, it's safe, and you should probably do it pretty regularly.
All right, let's talk about something I bet a lot of you have done. You've got your Proxmox server humming along, or maybe a Synology NAS, and you want to get Nginx Proxy Manager up and running. So you find a super convenient community script or a one-click package, and boom, it's installed. Easy, right? Well, that convenience, it comes with a catch. A hidden responsibility that we're going to unpack today. We're not just doing a basic NPM tutorial here. We are diving deep into what it really means when your setup is unsupported, and how you can keep your home labs safe and sound. So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the classic self-hoster's dilemma. Then we'll introduce our hero, Nginx Proxy Manager, and get a basic deployment up. After that, it's the main event, tackling the third-party challenge head-on. We'll wrap up with how to keep your setup healthy and why the community around all this stuff is so incredibly important. Let's get into it.
Okay, section 1. Let's start with a problem that, well, it hits pretty close to home for most of us. You've poured hours, maybe even days, into getting your home lab set up just right. Everything's running beautifully, but it's all stuck inside your house, trapped on your local network.
I mean, you've built this amazing digital playground, right? You've got Proxmox spinning up VMs, your Synology is the heart of your file storage, maybe Home Assistant is practically running your life for you. It's awesome. But the big question, the million-dollar question is, how do you actually use all this cool stuff when you're not at home? How do you access it all simply and safely without creating a technical nightmare for yourself?
The dream, really, is to get to all these services with a simple, memorable URL. You know, just typing something like photos.mydomain.com into a browser. What we don't want is to have to memorize a giant list of IP addresses and port numbers like 192.168.1.57/5001. I mean, who can remember that? That's the puzzle we need to solve.
So, to solve this mess, we need a solution. We need a secure, user-friendly gatekeeper for our entire network. And that, my friends, is exactly where Nginx Proxy Manager enters the picture.
At its heart, Nginx Proxy Manager is a reverse proxy. And the best way to think about that is like a super smart receptionist for your home network. When a request comes in from the internet, it doesn't just barge in the door. No, it has to check in with the receptionist. That's our proxy. The proxy then figures out exactly where that request needs to go and securely directs it to the right internal service. It's the ultimate gatekeeper.
And the project's own documentation says it best. It lets you easily forward to your websites, including free SSL, without having to know too much about Nginx or Let's Encrypt. Think about that. You get all the raw power of Nginx, plus free automatic SSL certificates from Let's Encrypt, and you don't have to become a command line wizard to do it. It's all managed through a simple web UI. It's a total game changer. Now here is a really important distinction we have to make. While there's an official Nginx Proxy Manager project, the version most of us are actually using, especially if you're on a Synology or used one of those Proxmox helper scripts, is this super popular but unofficial Docker container from a developer named Jocelyn Lesage. This is a critical detail, and it's going to be super relevant when we start talking about updates and support. So just keep that name, J. Lesage, in the back of your mind.
Okay, time to roll up our sleeves. Let's actually get this thing deployed. And you're going to see, thanks to the magic of Docker, getting the foundation built is surprisingly quick and easy.
And really, it all boils down to this one single Docker command. Now I know, it looks like a bit of a monster, a big wall of text. But don't worry, every single piece of this command has a purpose, and we're about to break it down so it makes perfect sense.
So let's demystify this. The little d just tells Docker to run it in the background. .name is obvious, it gives our container a friendly name. But the one I really want you to pay attention to is -v. That's for the volume. This is absolutely crucial. It tells Docker to save all your important configuration files in a folder on your actual computer, not inside the container. This means you can update or even delete the container, and all your settings will still be safe and sound.
Okay, now for those ports. There are 3 of them, and they are non-negotiable. You've got to have them. First, 8181. That's your private entrance to the admin web interface, where you'll do all the setup. Then you have 8080 and 4043. These are the public-facing doors. 8080 handles standard HTTP traffic, and 4043 handles the secure HTTPS traffic. All requests from the outside world come through these 2. So once that command is run and the container is up, just pop open a web browser, go to your server's IP address, but add :8181 to the end. You'll hit a login page. The default email is admin@example.com, and the password is, you guessed it, change me. The very first thing it's going to make you do is change that. So go ahead and set up your real admin account with the strong password. See, getting it running is the easy part. But now we get to the real meat of this discussion. This is the heart of what we're talking about today. What happens after the install? What's the reality of using those super convenient, community-driven scripts on platforms like Proxmox and Synology?
And this right here, this quote, is probably the single most important sentence you need to understand. It comes straight from the official NPM documentation. The developer is saying loud and clear, hey, if you use one of those third-party integrations, they are not supported by me. That means if something breaks, the responsibility isn't on the original creator. It's on you and the community that built that script or package.
And let's be real, these integrations are everywhere, and they're popular for a reason. I'm talking about the Home Assistant add-on, the unrated Synology Docker interfaces, those awesome Proxmox helper scripts. Tons of us use them. They make getting started a breeze, which is great, but you have to understand the trade-off. That convenience means the burden of maintenance shifts. It shifts right onto your shoulders.
Let's stop talking in hypotheticals and look at a real-world example. Let's say you installed Nginx Proxy Manager on your Synology NAS using their built-in Docker application. A new version of the software comes out, maybe with a critical security patch. So, how do you update it? It's probably not the simple click to update button you might be hoping for.
So here's the actual process. First, you have to go into the Docker app on your Synology and pull down the latest version of the image. Then, you find your running container and you stop it. After it's stopped, you select the Reset or Clear option. Now, that sounds scary, but it just throws away the old container and rebuilds a new one from the fresh image you just downloaded while keeping all your settings thanks to that volume we set up earlier. It's not rocket science, but it perfectly illustrates what unsupported really means. You gotta be hands-on.
But hey, being hands-on isn't a bad thing. In fact, that's kind of the whole point of self-hosting, right? Taking control. It just means you need to be aware of a few key maintenance tasks to keep everything healthy, secure, and running just the way you want it.
When it comes to updates, you've really got two main paths. Path 1 is the manual command line approach. You Docker pull the new image, then stop and arm the old container, and finally fire up a new Docker run command. This gives you total control. The other path? Automation, using a tool called Watchtower. It's a container whose only job is to watch your other containers, and when it sees a new version, it automatically updates them for you. It's that classic self-hosting dilemma. Do you want more control or more convenience?
Okay, let's talk about that heart-stopping moment that happens to the best of us. You've got dozens of proxy hosts configured, SSL certs are perfect, it's a work of art. And then you go to log into the admin panel and you draw a total blank. You've completely forgotten the password, you are locked out of your own system.
But this is where the beauty of self-hosting and having command line access really saves the day. You're never truly locked out. With this one simple docker exec command, you can reach inside the running container and tell it to run its own password reset script. You just give it your container's name and your admin email, hit enter, and bam! The password is reset back to change me. You're back in. Crisis averted.